extremely articulate. I found the book, The Art of Thinking Clearly here. You've got a very big 3 shelves of books. Very good.
Oh, you didn't see
library.
inside my office, and you haven't seen in my house also.
Oh, I haven't seen.
Yeah, I always feel that this is my my real treasure.
Yeah.
My books, and my daughter thinks exactly like me.
Yeah.
Because easily half of the books are hers.
Half books are hers. Okay. How many books you have?
I don't.
You haven't counted.
I don't
Have you read all the books?
No, I have not. So that is one great thing that I look forward to.
Yeah.
So the time when I'll have a little bit of a break, or when sometime somewhere, even just looking at the books and anticipating being able to read some of them gives me a lot of pleasure.
Yeah. But buying books and smelling books, and anticipation for reading the books.
Yes.
And you are such an articulate person and such a person with such clarity of thought and your choice is BJP for a political party. So there must be really something to it.
Are you saying
why that choice? Yeah.
Are you saying but?
No, I'm not saying but. No, not at all. Not in a derogatory sense.
I'll ask you.
I mean, there must be a reason for choosing a political party for a person like you.
Absolutely. Yeah. This choice is something that I made about 24 years ago. Right? There was a point at which we were going through like a huge political crisis, political leadership and everything. Pretty much similar to what we are going through now. 97 and 98 during
there
that
were
period.
prime ministers coming in and going.
Yes.
Gujral, then Deva Gowde, like
yes.
that. Okay.
So there was a lot of transience in the entire system, and there was a lack of stability and any kind of clarity for the nation as a whole. So that was a time when I was approached by ideologues of the party, and also understanding from my point of view, I was I was like fairly young. I was like 26, 27 years old. And that is the time at which I think youngsters need to become politically very aware and motivated.
And you were active in films at that time.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was the time I knew that this was the right direction. This was a party that had, love for the nation and commitment to the nation above all else.
Yeah.
The kind of leaders that were there, Atalji, Mr. Advaniji, and everybody, their stature and their leadership and all of that is, already by then they were legendary. And that integrity, that commitment to the nation is what was needed then, and that is what is needed today also.
Yeah. So that's how you chose BJP.
Yeah, and also there is staying within tradition. There is a progressiveness there, and that is something that our country, being who we are, such an ancient culture, we are so rooted in time that it's very difficult for us to even sometimes pinpoint where certain cultural traditions come from, certain ways of thinking come from, why we are the way we are. We are such an ancient culture. Yeah. It goes way beyond 3,000 years, 5,000 years.
You don't have to explain to anyone why we are.
That's the way we are. That's how ancient as an ethos or as a people we are. That's how we have evolved. So we have to have political leadership and political direction that is rooted in that, but is progressive. And this, very frankly, the only party that can do that and has been doing that is the BJP.
But that's true, absolutely. But then, since you are in Tamil Nadu, you said you have been from 87. You have been in Tamil Nadu. This is where you are settled, and this is where the Dravida parties are ruling. I mean,
yes,
either DMK or ADMK. But don't you think, in living in a state like Tamil Nadu, where Dravida politics dominates, in such a place, is there really space for BJP?
I like the fact that you've asked that question, and it comes to a very fundamental fact that we all need to talk about. If going by your question, I say that there is no room for, a political party of a certain ideology, whatever, saying that the Dravidian parties are so strong here, there's no place for another third party to come in. Therefore, I should not even think about the third party, but I should go with whatever is there right now. That is political opportunism. So that is something that I'm looking for benefit out of. I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for a political party which I believe is the right direction for my country and my people.
You are saying that it is not for any benefit. You haven't
If it
contested
was
any-
benefit,
Yeah.
then from 23 years in party, my
Yeah.
you know,
You could have
entire journey would have been very different.
Oh.
I got a lot of support from the party. I was appointed National General Secretary of the Youth Wing, and various other positions I was given at that time. So it's not
Positions
about
like?
that. Like the National Secretary, General Secretary of the BJYM is.
So,
It's a very
now you are a member of National Council.
state executive council.
State
Even that is something that I had never asked for.
Yeah.
And I was very surprised when I was told that I had been appointed.
Hmm.
So my
You would have been
coming-
easily dominated the Rajya Sabha seat in the artist quota.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
These are all, things that people start debating or going after when the intent is to,
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
it's about getting something out of
Mm.
it. For me, it is about I need the party to be strong because it is a direction that the country needs to go in.
Yeah.
And undeniably, the kind of leadership that our Prime Minister has shown in the last 6 years, through all the ups and downs that our country has gone through, that the world is going through, we have held steady.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like sometimes the medicine is bitter when you're taking it, but in the medium term and in the long term, you realize that things are better.
Yeah. And BJP is now contesting elections and with AIDMK, but they have been in power for more than 10 years now. For 10 years now.
10 years, yeah.
For 10 years. And now people are looking for change. That's what the DMK is saying. That's what MNM is saying. That the people are looking for change. Do you think that people are looking for change now?
One political party, especially those that have been in the opposition or those that are challenging the seat of power, the first thing that they are obliged to say is people are looking for change.
Yeah.
Whether people are actually looking for change and what kind of change is something that we will know after the
election.
After the election.
Okay.
So till then, let us leave it at the fact that opposition parties are doing their expected thing and delivering the expected dialogues.
Yeah.
Right now, today, the political system is very finely balanced in Tamil Nadu. Whether it is going to be the NDA alliance that is led by ADMK in Tamil Nadu, or whether it is the DMK and their alliance, or any other kind of third parties or anything like that, we will know everybody is being very high decibel in terms of their campaigning, and commissions, omissions. All of these things are happening, and it's a very good thing that media is so on the dot with everything because people are very well informed. At the end of the day, they are empowered to take their own decision. And let us see. I think April 6th is going to be very interesting.
Very interesting, yeah.
Very interesting.
In Kerala too.
Yeah.
And MNM is saying that they are going to offer the change that the people are looking for. So that's why they are trying to project themselves as the Aam Aadmi party, the change-bringing party in Tamil Nadu. And Kamal Hassan is portraying himself as the Kejriwal of Tamil Nadu. So that's how they are operating. And they have candidates like Sri Priya and all in contesting from Mylapore. And do you think MNM will be able to bring about change? Is there any sincerity in what they are professing?
See, there are several things about this that we all know, but perhaps we can remind ourselves one more time before another election. Every political party, especially when they are a startup, has a certain kind of an image that they have to establish.
Yeah.
So whether you're talking about DMK, AIDMK, BJP, these parties are decades old.
Yeah.
Right? Whether in one state, the AIDMK, DMK have had their genesis in the state and they are regional parties. Whereas the BJP has its genesis in the national ethos and they are the kind of growth that they have seen throughout the country is something that is unique. And again, within a milieu, the political platform here that is dominated by these kind of giants, regional or national, there is a certain kind of marketing campaign that has to be done.
Yeah.
Right? And as somebody who understands how to do that, how to get amongst the people and say the right things to get the right kind of attention. It's a crafted marketing this thing, which every party is doing now. As I think most notably this IPAC is something that has had a lot of attention and all of that. So this kind of PR and marketing and positioning is something that every party seeks to do. And especially, as I said, when one is a newcomer into the entry,
new
this
entrant,
kind of a thing.
Into politics.
Yeah, you will have to find ways of being even more strident, of catching more eyeballs, and like getting into more people's ears.
Yeah. So that's why M&M is professing these things.
Everybody has to profess it. Nobody can come into a political arena and stand for elections and say, I will serve the people, but I'll think about it after you put me in power. Yeah. Everybody has to come forward with some sort of assurances to the public. So let us see after elections.
But DMK is saying that M&M is actually lighting the torch to show the way for BJP. That they are being sponsored by BJP. That's a narrative. They are being sponsored by the BJP. Their intention is to split votes from DMK, from the AIDMK anti-incumbency votes, and split it to M&M so that BJP AIDMK can come power. Is there any truth in that?
If that is true and if that happens, I'll be very happy. If it makes my party stronger and my alliance comes to power because of anything, I'm happy.
Yeah.
Whoever is working behind the scenes or whatever it is, I'll be very happy.
They are professing justice for all, social justice and all that. But I think from Rajkamal films, you haven't got justice. You were not paid salary for two of the major works, Vishwarupam and Dashavataram.
Several more than that actually. It was pending for a few years.
Oh, several films. Why didn't you take salary at that time itself after by the time the film is finished?
It's not always about taking something. It's also about needing to receive what is due.
Yeah. But still you have not been paid. Isn't that those salaries?
There has been a certain amount of redressal done after that entire public thing.
Okay. It may run into crores, isn't it? No.
I don't want to go into those details because as far as I am concerned, it's closed chapter,
Closed chapter. I mean, can I ask you, not personal, but what the separation with Kamal Haasan based on politics? Your politics and his politics are different. Was there a basis to that?
After I came out on my own, I had actually written a statement that was pretty detailed.
Yeah.
And I had released that, and it's on my blog still. So I don't know if you've had a chance to see it. The only thing that I will say in terms of any kind of political ideology, I have held my political ideology consistently since I was, very young.
Yeah.
And unchanging and unwavering in that.
Yeah, since your early 20s.
Yes.
Yeah.
So since then I have been unwavering and committed and very sure about who I am and where my love for my country and my people is. Whereas on the other side you have a person who has not only said that they are apolitical, but they have derided politics and every political entity consistently in many ways.
Yeah.
So I don't think that there's a question of a difference of opinion in that. It's a far more complex situation than that, and I have no wish to go down that. For me, it is a closed chapter.
Yeah.
Not only is it a closed door, it has been completely sealed, cemented, plastered over, and it's fused into one single wall. So there's no question, no use in looking back.
Yeah. But what I heard is that you are campaigning in all the spots where Kamal Haasan campaigns in Coimbatore South, isn't it? Is it true?
Where are you hearing these things?
That's what we heard. That you also go, after he finishes, you also go and campaign for BJP.
I would really wish that people get their facts straight and do a little bit of actual, research before getting into gossip and all that, because this is just gossip. I have not started campaigning in Coimbatore.
Yes.
And I have been working in different places. I've had my own constituency down south in Rajapalayam.
Yeah.
And we have devoted the last 4 months to working over there. And recently I was in Karaikal and Pondicherry, and we had a very successful round over there. So all
I saw
of
it on
these,
TV. Yeah.
yeah. So all these things that you are hearing is just people probably they're not getting enough serious, validated, news to talk about. So they're just creating all of this.
Okay.
For me, all the opposition candidates are all the same.
Yes.
And my job as a member of my party is to do my best to make my candidates win.
Yeah.
There is nothing more personal in that.
Nothing more personal. Yeah.
Anybody standing on the other side of the line is my opponent.
Yeah. Tamil Nadu is a Hindu majority state, and you think instead of these Dravidian politics, these Dravida parties, BJP ultimately has a future in Tamil Nadu?
Certainly, why not? Because it's not just about a Hindu majority state. The party, we are a majority in this country, which is a secular country and has all religions and all walks of life that support our party and the party leadership. So it is about governance, and the party is about governance for all people. Being for one religion or being for one ideology does not mean that one is excluding others or is against others.
Yeah.
The very nature of Hindu religion is its inclusiveness, its acceptability, and its unlimited tolerance.
Yeah.
So it is actually the ultimately secular religion.
Yeah. Can you compare Tamil Nadu politics with Kerala politics?
No, they're two completely different
Yeah.
entities altogether.
Completely different, isn't it?
Completely different approach, and that happens because the mindset of people are different.
Yeah.
And I respect those differences. I think that it's very interesting to study, how different parties have grown in different states.
Have you studied that?
To a certain extent.
Yeah. Kerala is the leftist bastion. Leftist parties have grown in Kerala. Yeah.
For many decades. But at the same time, it's also interesting how they have a place for every other voice, including the BJP's voice.
You have worked in Malayalam cinema for a few years, like Hussainus Abdullah, Sugridam, those kind of films. Yeah. And after a few films, you just stopped.
I didn't just stop after a few films.
Yeah.
I worked for almost 8 or 9 years, and I did more than 120 films in those years.
In
and
different languages?
All languages.
Yeah.
5 languages.
Including Hindi?
Including Hindi.
Yeah.
Hindi is the language I did very few films.
Yeah.
So, but all the others I have done, probably not equal, but I've done a lot of work in all the other languages. And all the films I did in Malayalam were very high profile, got very good response critically, commercially and otherwise. And some of my Malayalam films are some of my favorite films, the ones that I really loved working in, and the kind of characters that I did. And which films? Oh, almost. The kind of films that came to me and the ones that I ended up doing, each one of them I was able to pick because I really loved the character, or working with that team, or the director, or the style of filmmaking. Like right from His Highness Abdullah, Sukhrudam, Ailat Adeham, Vidyarambam. So they're all such a vast range of subjects.
Yeah. Since you have joined a political career, also you want to many things like the Life Again Foundation, and does that mean you are not going to engage yourself in films?
Not anymore? At all. Not at all.
You will continue to act in films.
Absolutely, and now actually I'm hoping to do more work. Because all these years, the reason I was not in front of the camera so much was because my priority is bringing up my daughter.
Oh.
So that's the only reason I strayed away from in front of camera. I was working behind the camera as a technician. So I was doing costume design and a lot of other departments. I worked behind the camera.
Yeah.
Because there I can adjust my time.
Yeah.
I can do my work and also be there for my daughter. If I'm acting, I have to compulsorily be present in front of the camera for 100% of the time that I'm needed. So, which is why I stayed away from acting for all those years.
Yeah.
Now my daughter is independent. She's she's more than capable of taking care of herself.
Subbalakshmi.
Subbalakshmi.
Yeah. She's
So-
completed her graduation.
No, she is in graduation
Yeah.
right now. She's studying right now. So because of that, now I slowly started getting back in front of the camera. I'm doing some Telugu projects. So hopefully I will start doing some other languages, Malayalam and Tamil as well soon.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm looking forward to that. I
You're
would like
already
to-
acting in a few
Telugu projects,
films.
yes.
And you won a state award in Tamil once.
Hmm.
But then, don't you think better things are waiting for you, like a national award and more, much better roles, much better accomplishment in films?
I don't know about better things in terms of national award being better than a state award or anything, because for me a recognition is something that's given with so much of regard and appreciation, whether it is given by a government or whether it's given by an organization or even one individual. So I value it no matter where it is, who it is given by. So, but in terms of roles, yes, I'm always waiting for the next better role, greater role, more challenging role. Because as I get older and I have more experience, I learn more about myself. That definitely makes me a better actor. Makes me a better performer in terms of understanding my character, in terms of understanding my craft of cinema. About understanding dialogue, what is screenplay, how do characters work together, how does the story go. So there's so much that we learn as we get older and we start absorbing from life.
So tell us a little about the Life Again Foundation that you are running.
Right. Life Again Foundation was born after I finished my cancer treatment.
Yeah.
And I had started speaking.
2005.
2004.
Yeah.
I had started speaking about my experience to a lot of people.
Yeah.
In the beginning, people used to be very hesitant to come and ask me. They'll say, "You are not well, you are unwell." I said, "No, call it cancer.
Yeah.
It's like you have hypertension, you have a heart attack, you
Yeah,
have this,
yeah.
Cancer it's an illness and it has a name.
Because it is terminal, a lot of
It
people,
is not
many
terminal.
varieties
That's the
are
biggest
terminal.
mistake.
Yeah.
No, that's the biggest mistake.
Yeah.
Cancer by itself is not terminal, right? You are more likely to go out and because you haven't been taking care of yourself, you're exerting yourself, you're running, you came back from the gym, something. There are so many people that I hear of, oh, he was so healthy, nothing was wrong with him, he went to the gym, he came back and he dropped from a heart attack.
There is a multinational company head who used to test himself every 3 months, used to work out, used to run marathons, and suddenly he died. And
There you go.
what they found out was that he used to sleep for only 4.5 hours. Yeah.
So there are many reasons that all of these happen. And the biggest misconception about cancer that not just myself but people like myself have been fighting to change is that cancer is a killer. There are a few kinds of cancers that have very little treatment options because they're so rare.
Yeah.
But the more common cancers have excellent treatment options.
Yes.
And most cancers can be cured or completely well managed if you catch it early.
Yeah.
So if you have a swelling, you have a tumor, you have an abscess, you have a fever, you have weight loss, you have pain, you have some sign or the other, and you keep neglecting it till it gets to such a stage where the disease has progressed so much, and then you say, oh, this cancer killed me. Whereas if you had caught it in time, like my breast cancer did not kill me because I caught it myself. I was doing a self-exam.
Yeah.
And I found it in the early stages because I said, okay, maybe I have this. Let me look for it. You have to be aware of your own body, of your own health. You have to have responsibility to take care of that. You can't just say, I'm working day and night and I'm working so hard for my family, to pay my bills, to make sure my children are educated, to make sure that my family is safe. But that same responsibility you have to show to your own body, to your own health.
Yeah.
So many cancers are curable. Many cancers are curable if you catch it early. There are some cancers that are killing a lot of people today that are preventable.
Yeah.
Like oral cancers.
Yeah. Using tobacco and such things.
Yeah, there are so many and there are people who will have ulcers in the mouth.
Yeah.
Neglected till it turns into something else, right? You have cervical cancer, which is becoming so prevalent nowadays that women get it. Cervical cancer is almost 100% preventable. So when there are things that you don't need to die from this disease, but you end up dying from it, a good part of that is your own negligence or your own ignorance and being unaware of it.
So what's the foundation doing now?
So what we do is run a lot of awareness campaigns. We have a lot of people who come to us asking for advice, for suggestions, for assistance, and we try to work with them in whichever way is possible. And one of the main things is, one is raising awareness about different kinds of cancer, what you need to do, what you need to know, what you need to, what direction you need to be moving in to keep yourself safe or give yourself treatment, and how do you reach the right patient to the right kind of doctor and the right kind of treatment.
Yeah. Among the poor, isn't it? Mainly.
Oh, cancer knows no boundaries in that. It will not look at your bank balance or your social status before coming.
Yeah.
And pain, insecurity, fear, all of these are same across, caste, community, religion, income, everything.
One question I always wanted to ask you, even before coming here, is that you do TED Talk. You are extremely articulate in whatever you are saying, in your clarity of thought. How did you acquire this trait? Is it through debating competition?
I don't think it's a trait that you acquire. I mean, I know there are people who deliberately go out and get the skills for it. For me, it's just, I think it's a part of my personality that has just evolved. And when I find myself on a platform where I'm talking about an issue that is very relevant and something that I can contribute to and something that I engage with intellectually, then I express myself. And for me, it's very important to express myself in a way that is respectful of all the other people that are involved, and also in a way that adds value to the debate. I think it's very important to be credible in what you say, and mutual respect is very important.
And after you left the films, now girls.
I have not left films.
After not
stepped back from acting.
Stepped back from acting because you wanted to look after your daughter who is growing. And and today's girls in films, they are very bold, and they have got this Me Too. That institution came, and now they are very bold, and they now make sure that their voice is heard. If there is some injustice done to them, they would voice that concern, make a complaint. So the today's stars or the girls coming into movies don't bear any nonsense from anyone. So what do you have to say about that, about the new gen actors?
This whole thing of being subjected to treatment, abusive behavior and abusive, suppressive, oppressive treatment is nothing new to womankind. Through the ages, there has been a perception, that women are weaker and therefore will be treated in that kind of a manner. Equally, there have always been women who have stood up.
Stood up.
There have always been women who have stood up, who have not only stood up for themselves but stood up for women around them, who have been pioneers in setting forward into so-called male-dominated spaces. Because of each one of those women, today, as you are saying, women across the board are much more empowered. So it is an evolution that has been happening gradually through not just decades but probably centuries. And for me personally, I'm very happy to see this happen, but it's never been an issue either in our home or in my working environment. I've been very fortunate because I've been brought up by parents. My brother and I have always been never been treated unequally. So there was no question of equality. I never have had to fight for equality because I was never conscious of inequality.
Yeah.
And I know that that's very rare.
Mm.
I know that I have been blessed because I have had that kind of an upbringing.
Yeah.
You know, and for me, I want every child to be like that. I don't want, you know, either a girl child or a boy child to be made to feel that they are unequal in some way, either inferior or superior.
Are you actually an engineer from Geetam University?
I was studying engineering, I did not complete it.
What branch?
Triple E.
Triple E,
Yeah.
electrical and electronics engineering. So you are confident of success of ADMK BJP combined in TN?
Yes, we're fighting every bit, tooth and nail for that.
Yeah, looking forward to you acting in more Malayalam films.
Oh, I would love that. I would be delighted to do that.
Yeah.
The films that I have done in Malayalam are very close to my heart. And I would be very happy to actually be listening to more scripts and, you know, doing more films in Malayalam.
Listen to stories.
Yes. There's been a perception in the last, last 10-15 years that people think on their own that, oh, maybe she's not interested.
Oh.
You know, she's working behind the cameras, maybe she doesn't want to act now. So a lot of conclusions people arrive by themselves. So I've had people who I've met, people that I know, directors, you know, writers, other producers, say, oh, actually we wanted to approach you for this role, but you know, someone told us you're not interested, or we thought that you're not acting nowadays. So a lot of people by themselves actually come to that conclusion. So you can make it clear that that's not the case. And I'm looking forward.
Yeah. Good roles.
Yes, and in many ways, through all the things that I've done, acting is my first love. Because it gives me so much of joy and it takes me into a place where it's a very, every actor's journey is very solo.
Yeah.
You know, there's no place for anybody else inside that.
Yeah.
It's just you and yourself, and I think that's something that I enjoy a lot.
Yeah.
I like the fact that I'm completely responsible for my work.
Yeah, you're completely not only listening to directors' directions or instructions, but you're completely responsible.
Yeah, because my work, however good or bad or expressive or non-expressive my performance is, 100% depends only on me.
Yeah.
I can get support from my director, from my co-artist, you know, from the environment. But final output is me. And I like that challenge.
Yeah.
I really I enjoy that challenge.
Yeah.
I thrive on challenges actually. So when I've overcome some issue or a difficulty or I've achieved something, I sit there, I say, okay, nice, this is nice, but what next? So my life has been driven by me asking myself, what next?
Yeah.
Sorry, okay, you've come this far, you've achieved this, okay, done, okay, now put this aside.
Yeah.
அடுத்தது என்ன? What next, what next?
அடுத்தது என்ன?
அடுத்தது என்ன has always been what has been my motivating factor.